All the producers prior to Fruity Loops used to tell them they weren't real producers. And Fruity Loops opened the floodgates for pretty much anybody to become a producer. That same floodgate, but like a super floodgate now, because AI is allowing even me to become a quote unquote producer. Like literally a baby is going to be able to make a beat.
What's going down? It's DJ Payne One. I'm live with Dame Ritter, and this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, the music business podcast for right now. We are at episode 9, which is crazy. We're fresh off of tour, and so we're absolutely exhausted, but we still brought you a podcast episode on tour from Philadelphia. Now we're back in our respective home bases. Dame, what's going down? How are you feeling after? Have you recovered after the tour yet?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It was actually pretty inspirational. I like the tour. I like connecting with people in person. You know, I still try to tell them, like, look, the value of what we do on the road is the same value of information we give every week on our online sessions. So tap into those. But it seems like more people want to attend a live event, which is cool. So we'll definitely continue to do it. You know, I think we got to hit the Midwest at the top of next year, maybe after the winter. And then we'll just continue to do live events throughout the year. So please look for that in the coming future, because we'll have a bunch of stuff going on next year. I know Payne had a different type of event that he's thinking about putting together. Not gonna talk about that just now, but we'll have a lot of stuff going on next year for sure.
My event idea is the live trolling Olympics, but I think, you know, we talked about so much over the tour. We talked about multiple revenue streams. We talked about management. We talked about marketing. We talked about publishing. But the real takeaway was that artists are weirdos and Dame is normal. And that's a lesson that I learned, and that's really, it has stuck with me.
That's true. That's very true.
So let's talk about artists being weirdos. And you have a hell of a topic picked out today.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about, because in 2008, when we started our label, Funk Volume, there was a lot of chatter around the Illuminati, right? And how you needed to sell your soul to the devil in order to be successful in music. And Hop perpetuated it because he would put it in his music. And I personally would hate when I hear that stuff. You know, as we progressed, I saw no selling of the soul. I saw no like evil things. And now today we have this term industry plant, which I think is kind of similar, you know, and not to say that like the pure definition of an industry plant like doesn't exist anywhere, but I think these ideas are way more prevalent in our minds than they are in real life, for a couple of reasons. And I wanted to, before I give my reasons, I wanted to see, one, if you agree with that, and two, if they are more prevalent in our minds than they actually are in real life, you know, why is that?
Well, let's be clear about one thing, right? Okay, so a lot of Hopson's fans look at him as somebody who would never sell his soul, especially not to the Illuminati. He would never kneel to the goat head. He would never perform a blood ritual with Quincy Jones.
Well, I mean, I don't even want to put that out there, because that stuff doesn't exist.
No, I know, but that's the imagery.
Let's not even talk about it like it's an option, because I think that's the crazy piece of this, right?
I mean, I don't listen, man. People who get rich might actually pray to goat heads, but I don't think it's a real ritual to get into the business. But what I want to establish is this: nobody thinks he sold his soul. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He's a millionaire.
Yes.
Okay, so he's very successful as a musician. So that should just eliminate the myth right then and there. So if somebody who's never going to sell their soul is a millionaire, and at the same time the notion out there is that you can't be a millionaire in the music business unless you sell your soul, there we go.
You're still talking about it as if selling your soul is an option, and that bothers me, right?
No, listen, man. I agree. I'm just saying, if you talk to these people that are so convinced the Illuminati exists and that you have to, because people tell me about, I'm not a millionaire, Payne, you sold your soul to beat stars, you know, whatever it is. And it's just kind of this go-to belief of people who are, one, uncreative, and two, uneducated. If you tell this population of people right away, you know what, you don't sell your soul in the music business, they're not going to listen. But maybe if you challenge them and say, hey, here are all these artists who you think have never sold their soul and would never sell their soul. At the same time, they're very successful financially, they're successful artistically. You're their fan. How do you know about them? Because they never sold their soul. How are they rich? If you got to sell your soul to be rich, how are your favorite pure artists rich? And you believe they didn't sell their soul, but the person next to them who's just as rich, if not a little broker and less successful, did sell their soul just because you don't like them. Just because you assign. It was like on Twitter yesterday when Marxism was trending, and it was someone saying Trump is a Marxist president. The dumbest shit I ever seen in my life. But it's just that we use these words to not speak to their original meaning, but just to throw them out there against things that we don't like. So if I don't like, I don't know, just name a rapper. If I don't like him, he's an industry plant. I don't like this rapper, she's an industry plant. It doesn't mean anything. If someone's too successful, like Lil Nas X, I don't like Lil Nas X, he's Illuminati. You just threw that out there. It's like the same as calling somebody stupid. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I've come up with of why these things persist. One is I think people just like the entertainment of it. They're bought into conspiracy theories and the whole nine. But two, like having these like third party things that are responsible for people's success. Like because I can't get access to that, I no longer am accountable for my own failure and success because I would need to sell my soul in order to be successful, right? So if you need to do these things in order to be successful, now the responsibility is not on me. Like I'm not accountable for my success and failure. And I think that's the easy thing to do, is to blame it on the Illuminati or blame it on not being able to be an industry plant. So now I'm not responsible for my own success and failure. That's what I truly think it is, like with a lot of artists that are coming up that think these things exist. And industry plant, that might, depending on what your definition is, like that is, I think it comes from the same Illuminati conversations, but there are forms of that do exist depending on how you define it.
Right. Well, the issue is you have a lot of people who aren't in the music business, don't know anything about the music business, will never be in the music business, have no interest in being in the music business, who are out there perpetuating this label of industry plant. So when you ask them what an industry plant is, it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what they know about the music business. It doesn't matter whether or not they can explain it. They're operating on their own emotions as consumers or as uneducated, misinformed people who might be rappers, might be producers, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, there are so many, and I talk about this all the time, there are so many psychological barriers that we impose onto ourselves to not just explain away our lack of success, but also prevent ourselves from being successful. That is crazy. Illuminati, industry plant, that's one of them. There are so many others that are out there, and it's just self-defeat. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But the internet gives everybody an outlet, and you have a critical mass of people who have convinced themselves, without actual proof, they've never been in the music business, they've never been around celebrities, they've never been in the label offices, nothing. But it gives those people a platform en masse to spread this narrative about the Illuminati.
And our egos typically want an excuse, right? It's the same reason why some people don't want all the information. Like some people don't want to be educated on the music industry because if they have all the information, now you're responsible for your success and failure and you can't blame it on anybody else. So some people don't want information. They don't want to educate themselves. They don't want to join our live sessions or tap into our podcast. Because once they have all the information, they know that everything is on them.
That's how I feel about engineering. I don't want to know.
So, but yeah, I just think it's unfortunate, man, that we have these things that continue to kind of plague artists and distract artists from like what they really need to do, right? They need to build a brand. They need to master their craft. They need to be consistent. They need to build an audience, engage with an audience. But some of these things distract us from what we really need to do and the conversations that we should be having. So,
Yeah, but let's just celebrate this one thing. I love this. Old Town Road is still number one after 19 weeks.
why are we celebrating that? Why do we
Because
care? I don't know.
it's dope, and because it was like there are a lot of artists that pop up that everybody claims is an industry plant or Illuminati, and now with Little Nas X being out, and Pride in my city is this Saturday. Everybody now, not everybody. I think most people don't care that there was not any kind of damage to his brand. If anything, it just put more eyes on him. But a lot of people that were already mad at his success now are adding on that extra, because guess what goes hand in hand with Illuminati and industry plant conspiracies? The gay agenda. So now you have that label tacked on to Little Nas X, and a lot of people were saying, hey, he's coming out, and he came out in June. We're well into August. He's still number one. So yeah, I'm celebrating that because number one, I just think it's dope when a young person of color succeeds and creates success out of nothing. But then on the other hand, it's also dope because it's pissing people off who, in my mind, are emotional and angry at somebody they don't know for absolutely no reason.
Okay, well, shout out to Lil Nas X then. But cool. All right, man. What else? What else did you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about something that correlates well with this industry plant conversation, which is trolling in the music business. So I got a message the other day randomly from some woman asking me out of nowhere, no hello, no what's up, no introduction. It was, hey, how do I talk to Lil Baby? Because I did a record with Sammy and Lil Baby earlier this year. I don't know Lil Baby. I did that record with Jay Oliver. Shout out to him. Co-produced by him, and I wasn't in the session. I didn't meet Lil Baby. That's how most of these things go. I'd like to be, obviously, but she saw that in my credits and decided to just send me that stupid ass message. And a lot of people think I respond to every stupid ass message I get. I get 100 a day. I don't have time to respond. This one was just so incredibly weird that I responded by saying, "Is that really? You're really asking me this question?" And her response was, "Look, if I approached you respectfully with a normal question, you would have never gotten back to me. But because I sent you this weird ass message, now you're getting back to me." And I blocked her because what kind of weirdo are you? But I think that's this. It's like trolling has taken place of networking. And a lot of people believe that you have to be outrageous, you have to get under people's skin just to get noticed. And I can't personally think of an example of someone who annoyed their way into a music career.
Yeah, that's stupid. It doesn't really make sense. Like, is the goal to build a solid relationship with somebody, or just to get their attention, even if the attention is like a big fuck you? Like, if I want to work with Diddy, getting him saying "fuck you" to me is not helping that cause, right? So I don't even want to spend too much time here because it's so damn ridiculous. And I would hope that most people understand that just getting people's attention is not networking.
But it speaks to a larger topic, which is the overall topic of networking, which is something we covered a lot on the tour.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest myths about networking, and it's something that almost all of us believe in, at least at the beginning of our networking stage in our music careers, is that networking is this instant thing. We should see results from networking pretty quickly. And we talked about this stuff on tour all the time. I mean, I knew Ted Park personally for 5-6 years before, and we had been working together in other ways before we ever did a record together. And it took 6 years to get to that point where the timing was right, where the chemistry was right, when we had the same goals, when our paths just crossed again, and we created a song from scratch, and that was our biggest song, and it got us signed to a major, it got us on Billboard. had he looked at me as somebody who needed to give him something instant, then he would have burned that bridge. If I had looked at him as someone who was of no use to me just because I had known him for 5-6 years and nothing dope had happened between us and just stopped answering his calls, I would have never had that opportunity. And so people nowadays think because it's this instant, because they see things go viral and they don't really understand how it works. Because we're fascinated by bright and shiny objects now, and so we see it on the internet. It seems like it happens so quickly. We don't know a damn thing. We're not behind the scenes. We just see the results, and so a lot of us think that instant gratification is the way to go. And so therefore, if we're not shocking people into noticing us, if we're not doing anything, you hear people say, well, you just got to get it by any means necessary in this business. And so, yeah, if harassing a celebrity and pissing them off gets you a response, then the people around you, probably most of them are going to say, hey, well, that was successful because you got a response. But that response isn't positive. And this whole notion that all attention is good and negative attention is just as good as positive attention, that's something. Hey, if you want to try that out, by all means, play that game with your own career. It's your life.
Okay, let me just play devil's advocate for a second. She did get your attention, obviously. Is there anything that she could have said in that second response that would have, continued a conversation, right? If she had a million followers and was like, Payne, I really love your stuff, let's work, I bet you would have been like, okay, let me see what you got going on, right? Like, what are some scenarios in which she could have turned that around with that initial, ridiculous intro?
Yeah, I think if she would have, rather than explaining that asinine mentality to me, had said, hey, I was just trying to get your attention, but here's something substantive, here's something I can offer you, or hey, I'm interested in getting a beat or whatever. Yeah, of course, if you already have my attention, but there's a line. I mean, she didn't insult me or disrespect me by asking me how she can get a hold of Little Baby. It was just a stupid conversation. Or I guess it was kind of disrespectful because it's like me walking up to a woman in the club and smiling and saying, hey, what's up? I'm just seeing if I can get your friend's number. That's kind of disrespectful. And she has every right to tell me to go somewhere else. But
I guess the truth of the matter is, like, it did work. Like, if you have a follow-up that is substantive, that initial, what we initially called ridiculous reach out, got your attention. So there is a way to rebound from that if you have a strategy. So trolling does work sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I don't think normally it's with a plan, and I still don't. I don't know of anybody who. Yeah, I guess trolling in a general sense is just trying to get a response. I think there are obviously levels of disrespect. There's a spectrum of trolling where if someone sent you a message that said, "What up, Dame? You a bitch," and then you responded by saying,
Nah, I respond. Oh,
okay. There you go. So that's trolling, but that wouldn't work. But if someone sent you a message,
be a creative troll. And then I would never encourage this, but I do see how it can work if you are strategic. Most people aren't strategic and they aren't thinking beyond that initial, just kind of response. But, should you do have a plan, there is a way to rebound from that initial ridiculous response.
Well, sometimes, okay. Yeah, and if the trolling is funny and creative, I guess that's an in. But is that trolling or is that just employing humor? It's like an icebreaker kind of thing. And some icebreakers are meant to, because think about just walking up to someone that you don't know. And you say something that's kind of outrageous, but it speaks to their experience and shows a little humor. Is that trolling in real life? I don't know. Or is that breaking the ice? So trolling might be a problematic term when it comes to networking. Are we calling it trolling just because it's meant to get someone's attention? All messages are meant to capture people's attention, but not all messages are considered trolling, I don't think. If I send you a message that says, hey, Dame, I have a budget, I need to talk to you, Is that trolling? Well, it probably gets your attention, and you're going to ask, hey, what are you interested in? Because it's a business inquiry, and you're running a business. Same with me. If someone sends me a message that says, hey, Payne, I got a budget, I'm trying to work, let's talk, and I respond, and then they say, actually, I'm just trying to get little baby's number from you, then I'm going to block them. So it goes back to you being normal and everyone else being weirdos, because a lot of people are doing weirdo stuff and then wondering why they're not getting anywhere in the business.
That's a whack message too. That's a whack initial message too. Like, I got a budget, holler at me. Like that. I mean, maybe it gets some people's attention, but I probably wouldn't respond to that one either. Because that just lets me know that, whatever you have going on, it can't be that you're not a professional. And yeah, I've actually gotten messages like that before. I don't respond to those. It's got to be more substantive than that for sure. But anyway, so you blocked homegirl.
Yeah.
And, all right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the post that I made recently. The responses to the post of the artificial intelligence. Producers that. Because there are sites right now where you can go, Boomy.com being one of them, press 2 buttons and a beat pops out, right? And right now the beat is trash. However, let's fast forward maybe just a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Imagine if we can go to Boomy.com, press 2 buttons, and make a really dope beat. And I wanted to see if producers are concerned about competing with artificial intelligence. And the responses were predictable. People were like, well, that music doesn't have a soul, and that's not a producer, that's a beat maker. Very emotional responses to this, and I'm just trying to highlight something that's going to be a very real possibility. Not even a possibility, it's definitely going to happen. Like, these beats are going to get generated, and you're going to be competing with artificial intelligence. Whether or not you think that music has a soul is besides the point. It's still competition. And for artists, if the beats get good and artists are using those beats, that's cutting out, your publishing, things that you could have done with artists. So I think it should be a concern, and the reaction shouldn't just be emotional. It should be figuring out, how do you prepare for this change? Deepen your relationships, build a brand, master your craft so that you can weather this storm, because I think that it's coming, probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I don't think the producers that have solid brands are as worried. I mean, I think another reason they have solid brands is because they've anticipated the cultural and technological shifts and are already prepared to do so again. Because that's the thing. And a lot of people don't like changing with the times, but the thing is, there are always going to be changes, and you can't just change with the times once and think you're good. You got to continue to change. And so, to producers who are responding or reacting emotionally to this possibility or probability of AI competing with them in the future, and then pushing that to the back of their minds and saying, I don't want to deal with this because it bothers me emotionally, you're going to be the ones that this could affect. To the producers that I'm trying to find out how I can anticipate that, make better beats, add more value to my brand. Because I can sit here and say, yeah, AI can't make beats like me, and I'm probably right, because I'm using a lot of live elements. I'm creating beats with hooks with songwriters that I work with closely. I'm trying to provide the best possible customer service experience to anybody that licenses or purchases my beats. I'm also working directly with artists who are already pretty popular. So those are things that enhance my brand. Is that going to be enough? Probably not. So I got to step it up. But granted, when I hear stuff like that, I'm an artist, so part of me is going to have this emotional response. I think any artist who's being told that they could get replaced by AI is going to have some kind of personal response in their gut. That doesn't mean that you should just let the personal response take over and replace some kind of plan to anticipate what you're going to do once that change happens, though.
Yeah, no, I definitely expected an emotional response, but we are the music entrepreneur club. We aren't the music hobby club. The things that we talk about hopefully help you build a career and monetize your passion. So when you respond to me with like just heartfelt and emotional responses, like that's not why I'm here. I am not a musician, right? That's why I think my perspective is dope for this platform, meshed with your perspective as well, because you are an artist. So I'm going to bring some things to the table that maybe artists didn't think about, but they need to prepare for, because it's going to impact their business. There were some responses too that said, well, it's not like working with a human. It can never replace working with a human. And if you think about it, the way the most songs are created right now, yeah, humans created them, but you aren't really working with that person, right? You buy a beat off BeatStars, you don't even know who that producer is. What's the difference if a human uploaded that beat or if artificial intelligence uploaded that beat, right? There's already a human disconnect in the making of music right now that, I would say most songs. Matter of fact, the song that you talked about earlier in this podcast with Sammy and Lil Baby, you've never met Lil Baby, so you guys aren't always working together. And it might feel better and it might sound better when people are actually in the studio working together.
Yeah, it does.
But that's not necessarily what's happening, and that's not what the end consumers necessarily care about, right?
Yeah.
So your emotional responses, I get it, but this is the Music Entrepreneur Club, and we're trying to help you build businesses out of your passion. So I try to strip that away, especially since I'm not an artist myself. I mean, I still care about music. I wish this didn't exist, to be honest. Personally, I don't want this. I don't want this to happen. I think music should be a human experience. However, we don't have control over that. It's happening whether we like it or not.
I mean, unless we destroy all the machines.
But think about, because I heard the same. The cats that used to produce on Fruity Loops used to catch a lot of flack.
Oh yeah.
Right. All the producers prior to Fruity Loops used to tell them they weren't real producers, and Fruity Loops opened the floodgates for pretty much anybody to become a producer, right? And I don't hear that too much anymore if somebody only produces on Fruity Loops. So now let's imagine that same floodgate, but like a super floodgate now, because AI is allowing even me to become a quote unquote producer. Like literally a baby is going to be able to make a beat. So it's just going to be that on another level. And I think that the creators of this technology, they want it to be, kind of what Fruity Loops was in terms of like helping people. There still is supposed to be a human element to it. You're supposed to use it, and maybe some people are better at using it than others, and that's how you differentiate yourself. But it's coming, and you can cuss me out and tell me I'm just the business guy or whatever, but hopefully some people, are listening and better positioning themselves.
Yeah, I'm supposed to what was the nickname that you got in the comment section, the Uncle Tom Jewish uncle or something?
What?
You didn't read? It was this whole we need to talk about this in an upcoming episode, man. The amount of hate that you get is ridiculous, but I want to parallel it with another artist that I work with, because it's just the hate that you get is from years ago, from people who don't know you, from a can of paint. It's just hilarious. It's pure dick riding. It's 120% dick riding someone else. So if I hate you because somebody else doesn't like you, and that somebody else isn't a personal friend of mine, that's dick riding to the point of bringing shame to the art of dick riding. You know what I'm saying? So I want to talk a little bit about that, but in the next episode, that's the teaser.
It's all good. I mean, it's not like you or I make a ton of money doing what we do. Like this is a passion project for us, So for anybody that comes out the woodworks and questions our intentions and questions all the time and commitment that we put into this, they really just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like this isn't, making us tons of money. It's really just to give back and to educate artists, so that the same thing that happened to me and others like me doesn't continue to happen. We don't want, artists and business people continuing to clash. We should be able to work together so that, many more people can make a living out of what they love. So.
Well, I might be an industry plant, man. You don't know. George Soros might be signing my checks. On that note, we'll catch you on episode 10, which is going to be a big anniversary because we did, 10 episodes is a big deal. It is. I didn't know if we were going to last to the 5th episode, and we're at 9 right now. So we'll catch you next time. I'm DJ Payne 1. That's Dame Ritter. Peace.
Peace.